She didn't have any children. Another incredible thing. She was very young when she got married. She could have been very fertile and had many. It wasn't meant for her to have children, and she dedicated her life without complaining, without questioning God's wisdom in doing that. There are incredible lessons from her life. She just dedicates herself to this thing she was obviously meant to do. Now, Aisha has incredible, more than just narrating the life of Muhammad in particular situations, she has incredible historic circumstances. For instance, one of the critical verifications in hadith study, and I assume you know what hadith is by now. You've had this seminar for 3 weeks, I believe, before. So hadith are the narrations and the sayings and actions of Prophet Muhammad. Hadith study means that there has to be rigorous authentication so that we can know what these sayings, which of these sayings are actually the sayings of Muhammad or were possibly fabricated, or if there's some error in them. So this became a citation and actually a science in Islam. What Aisha did, this was an exemplary practice that she started, is to check narrations against the Quranic text. So for instance, one companion, these are male companions that sometimes she corrected. And it's not to say that any woman, any man can do these. All of these are scholars that were trained. She was trained during the life of Prophet Muhammad. He actually said, take your knowledge from this young lady. Take your knowledge from this young lady. And during her life, he let her argue with him. So in their marriage, she would argue about Quranic text interpretation. He was empowering her and training her. Now, so after his death, in the city of Medina, there were 7 people allowed to give legal rulings or juristic rulings. She was one of them. And she was actually preferred in many cases. So the rest, the other men, sought her advice. So we see that the people of Medina were used to this atmosphere now. If somebody said something that they doubted, let's go to Aisha. They would run and ask Aisha what she thought. So this happened one time. A very great scholar, may Allah be pleased with him, Abdullah ibn Abbas, used to say, the Prophet saw his Lord twice. That means Muhammad actually saw God twice. And again, people ran to Aisha, is this true? Did Muhammad see his Lord? She said, no. What you have said makes my hair stand on end. Where is your people's grasp of things? She was that high a stature in Islam that she could tell men, women, anybody. She would say, what is your grasp of these things? And she had verification from the Holy Quran. And she would recite to them Surah Al-An'am. This is chapter 6, verse 104, if anyone wants to look at it. No seeing faculties can encompass him, but he, God, encompasses all seeing faculties. Again, chapter called Shura, it's number 42, verse 51. It is not for any human that God should speak to him unless by revelation or from behind a veil. Rather, he saw the angel of revelation, Gabriel, twice. So she corrects men's understanding time and again. Muhammad saw the angel of revelation, Gabriel, twice. Now, Urwa ibn Zubayr narrates from Abdullah ibn Umar. Abdullah ibn Umar, another great figure in Islamic history. Abdullah ibn Umar was saying, the Prophet Muhammad, after one of the greatest battles that really ensured the survival of the Muslims after they were heavily persecuted by the Meccan pagans, and this was after they had immigrated to Medina. Now they met in battle, and after key oppressors from Mecca had been killed in the Battle of Badr, he stood on a ditch where some of the unbelievers were buried. And Abdullah ibn Umar narrates that Muhammad said, have you found what your Lord promised to be true? And then he said, they are hearing what I'm saying to them. Again, people doubted. They rushed to Aisha. She said, and she always started out everything as, may Allah have mercy on so-and-so. May God have mercy. She always started it with a prayer that I know this person didn't intend to mean this. This was her gentleness, but showing that they made an error. She said, rather the messenger said, they know what I'm saying is true. They know what I'm saying is true is fundamentally different. So Aisha is showing that he didn't preserve it correctly. He wasn't as careful with his memory. And she corrected it by reciting Surah An-Nam chapter called and Naml, the ants. It's number 27 and the verse is 80. Indeed, you cannot make the dead hear. Indeed, you cannot make the dead hear. Even Muhammad, even a prophet, but he was a human being, and he could not reach the dead. So Aisha is establishing this principle. It is a principle of hadith textual criticism till today. So all scholars have accepted it, and it started with her. Now, we go on from there and see that this kind of foundation, what Prophet Muhammad set up during his life, and the Quranic view of women, what they established in Islam, because it didn't end there. We know of all of the companions, the people who saw Prophet Muhammad, 2,000 women of them narrated hadith. And now an incredible new research, a PhD, an Oxford scholar from England, who is a Muslim, has documented 8,000 women scholars in the past 1,400-year history of Islam. And this is just one field. This is one field, hadith sciences. And there are tremendous, tremendous others. And he does this in 40 volumes. It takes him 40 volumes. And he starts with the first century of Islam. And he talks about women scholars till today. He goes through. Now it's all in Arabic, but what he's done, we're so grateful, is that he's made one preface and summary edition, one book in English. And his name is Akram Nedwi, for anyone who wants to look that up. Nadwi, and this is where I should use the board.
I'm my teacher.
Again.
My teacher.
He is one of your teachers. Oh, Imam Yassin, because he hails from Europe. That's right, from England. This is incredible. So do you have the entire
No, I don't
set?
have the book. No,
Imam Yassin? Okay.
I don't have the book.
But it's available now. How much is it running?
I don't know the price, but it's expensive.
Akram Nedwi. But at least for you, for anyone interested, the preface, the introduction and summary is called Al-Muhaddithat, or you can just look it up by his name. 8,000 women, scholars, in one field, in a 1,400-year history of Islam. Now, what do we know about them? Women taught and learned in both mosques and in schools. And I'm going to outline some incredible examples of them. Let's look at Darda first. She was a generation of successors. And by that generation we mean the generation that came after the companions, the people who actually lived with Muhammad. So she was that next generation. She was a famous scholar of Syria. She taught in the great Umayyad mosque of Damascus as well as in mosques in Jerusalem. The Caliph, the ruler of the Muslim Empire, Caliph al-Malik ibn Marwan, was her regular student. Famous scholars in Islam, reputable scholars, Adhab and Ibn Kathir, praise her knowledge, her piety, and her intelligence. And we know that she had a dedicated space. She had a place reserved for her in the north side of the mosque. Now, once someone asked her, "Oh, Darda, are you taking sadaqah?" Sadaqah is a form of charity. They saw her students giving her. Now, she never accepted money for her teaching, and she didn't accept charity. But students would give her things, and when someone remarked on that, and she said, "Of course I took it. It came to me unasked. It was a gift." So she said, "Amazing. People pray to God, 'Oh God, I'm in financial straits. Please provide for me.' But then, what do they expect? Do they expect the Lord to send down on them from the skies a shower of money?" She said, "Of course, God provides us through each other." So her famous quote, which I think is really remarkable, is, "God's provision does not reach us as a raining down of gold and silver, but it reaches us through each other." A very wise, incredible lady. She taught that is why she accepted people's gifts unasked, because she saw God's blessing in it. She always remembered that it was God's provision. Now, Shaykha al-Khair Fatima al-Bata'ihi, she was another famous Syrian scholar. She went to Mecca as visitor and pilgrimage. People heard about it and people flocked to her. She taught in the Prophet's Mosque in Medina. One student, Ibn Rushayd, he came all the way from Fez, Morocco, to attend her lectures. He recounts how she would lean on the wall of the tomb of the Prophet, facing the head, where Prophet Muhammad's head would be buried.